All right, guys. Today, sorry if it's hard to understand me. I'm really sick right now, but I hope you can understand me well. I'm gonna be talking about cardiovascular disease. My name is Caleb Groves, and so first I want to talk about what is it. Cardiovascular disease is any disease involving the heart or blood vessels, so that would include coronary artery disease, heart failure, and a bunch of other ones. Age is one of the big factors that plays a role in it. Age is so the older you are, the higher chance you have. Same with gender. Gender is if you're a guy, you have a higher chance, but women increase their chance after menopause. And diet, if you're eating a lot of processed foods, that's not good. A lot of fatty foods, not going to be good for you. Activity level, if you're sedentary, higher chance. And one thing about it is that it's really hard to spot. Most people don't figure it out until something bad happens, like a stroke or heart attack or something like that, because it can build up over decades. And I don't know, you're not really going to be thinking about it if it takes that long. You'll probably just be like, oh, today I just feel a little weird. But no, you got to watch out for it. So, how can we avoid it? Eating whole grains is good. It's just less processed. That's good for you. No trans fats. Trans fats lead to a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. And exercise more often. That would actually increase your HDL levels. And when we increase our HDLs, that is going to actually reduce our risk. So if you have like a HDL level of, I think it's 50 or higher, no, it's 60 or higher, then you have actually like it's a negative risk factor, and that's really good. So if we're talking about countries, I want to talk about the USA versus India. Cardiovascular disease is pretty big in both these countries. In America, you can see that 121.5 million adults have it. That's almost half of them. That kind of blew my mind to hear that. It's the number one cause of death, which makes sense because if half the people have it, then yeah, a lot of people are probably going to be dying from it. I included high blood pressure at four. That means 46% of Americans have high blood pressure. This is hypertension is associated heavily with cardiovascular disease, and my volunteer actually has hypertension as well. And 1 in 5 of us are actually getting enough exercise, meaning 80% of us are not. That is crazy to me. Like, what? Like, we're just sitting around all the time? I don't know. It kind of just makes me feel bad. And then going to India. So India is also the number one cause of death. 1 in 4 people die from a death related to heart disease, and 54.5 million people over there have it. So it's less than us, but still number one cause of death. And then it's a poor country. That means they have like less access to healthier foods, less access to education that would help them understand how to prevent it. And it affects mostly older people in India. So the highest population to have CBD is going to be the old people, older people. So I'm going to talk about my volunteer a little bit here. So what are they doing well? Well, my volunteer had the goal of eating a lot more protein. That was what they wanted to do, and they're meeting that goal, and that's great. And so some other things they're doing, which is great because of some other things I'll bring up, is that they're taking multivitamins, and that's going to help increase their levels on vitamins that they lack in, which let me tell you, they are lacking in a lot of the vitamins they need. And they are staying in good range of added sugars, which actually a lot of people go way over on added sugars. It's easy to do. I know I like candy. I like a lot of those sweets that you just find at the bakery. And so I can struggle with that sometimes as well. So some factors that are playing into what my volunteer was eating was their nutrition goals. I talked about that they wanted protein, and that was it. That was all their goals were. They didn't really care about any of the other food groups. And so that's why they ate higher protein foods. And they did a good job at that. Availability to them. So my volunteer had a seizure recently, and because of that, he wasn't allowed to drive anywhere. He lives in the mountains, and so he's far away from everything. And this is, I mean, it's difficult, right? So you can only eat anything that's in the house. And so they're only eating foods that are available to them and also very routine. And also the medication they were on was making them really tired. And so they only basically made things that they could put in the microwave or that were just grab and go foods. They never were actually cooking for themselves. And that's not very good for their diet. And so the things that they could work on, I think it'd be really nice if they focused on all the food groups, focus on your vitamin intakes, but they focus on protein. That's great. Focus on their fats would have been great too. Focus on the carbohydrate levels. Even going on the My Place, they didn't eat any fruits. They were like very low on vegetables, things that were not great. And sorry, and I would ask them to eat less processed foods because their sodium levels are above the upper limit. So I would say if you eat less processed foods, you're going to have less sodium just because more processed foods are going to be a lot higher in sodium for preservation reasons. And then I go on walks, right? My partner or my volunteer, I mean, is an older man and he lives in the mountains, and so there's lots of great places to walk. And so I think that would be something enjoyable and something very available for them to do. And so let me just summarize what I said here. My volunteers doing well on their goal of getting enough protein in their diet. However, the micronutrients and other food groups are not getting the attention they need. I would recommend to start making goals on increasing one micronutrient at a time because I think this would keep them from over overstacking things on themselves. I think when we try to do too much at once, then it can be very stressful. And so doing it one micronutrient at a time, they would start to see improvements and be a lot easier for them. And they would have a lot more positive changes in their life. So some barriers they may have, especially with my client, a lot of it leads to being tired. But talk about caring. Like I said, my client didn't care about anything other than protein. Even about the heart disease and stuff, I said, well, what are you gonna do to reduce this? And I asked the same thing about hypertension and how are you gonna change your diet or how are you gonna change your lifestyle if you want to be healthier? They just said, well, the doctor gives me medicine and that's good enough for me. And so they didn't really have a desire to change from that. And the processed foods, they love the processed foods. They say it's easy and I'm tired all the time. So maybe when they stop taking this medication that makes them tired, or maybe there's a time where they could just do some meal planning. I don't know. But I think being tired is the main reason that they are struggling with a lot of their diet and exercise lackings. And so in conclusion, heart disease is a very dangerous and sneaky thing. Watch out for it. Well, it's hard to watch out for, but take care of yourself in a way where you can cook your own food is a great way to take care of yourself. When you cook your own food, use raw ingredients. Don't use the processed stuff because that's just going to be automatically healthier that way. Get plenty of exercise and make it fun. I like to roller skate. I like to rock climb. There's so many different things that you can do out there. You can just go on walks. You can ride a bike. Just get some exercise. It's going to help you out a lot more than you think. And yeah, this is my presentation. Thank you.